You don't tell me you're living the dream there. Yeah. Oh, good for you. Living a dream. It's more about me than you, huh? I always say, job security. There you go. Job never goes away. You gotta hold that. You can have one cut off. Yeah. Be my picture.
Good evening, everyone. Want to call the meeting to order? Maybe stand for the president. Madam Clerk. Call the roll, please.
Alderman Smith. Alderman Dales. Alderman Smith.
I hear it.
Alderman Harmon Ward.
Put it on. Present.
President Thomas.
Present.
Alderman Von Surgeon.
Here.
Alderman Warnes.
Present.
Alderman Hester.
Here.
Alderman Smith.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'm sure she did. She thought. I have the approval for the agenda for today's meeting, Thursday, October 3rd, 2020.
Agenda. August 3rd, 2023.
I have the second, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. With amendments,
Okay.
the amendments are to add ordinance for a special meeting to the agenda, number 7. Move number 13, number 8. Request that our treasurer discuss Senate Bill 190 in his presentation, and a motion to adjourn the meeting at 9 p.m.
I second. If there has been moved and second, the motion was to move number 13 up, number 7, correct? No, rule number 13 to number 8. So,
Add, motion was to add the special meeting ordinance to agenda at number 7.
number 7.
Move item number 13 to number 8. To have the treasurer in his report speak on Senate ending. And a motion to adjourn meeting at 9.
Second for all of that. Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Meeting open to the public. Amen.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Stay. Everybody stay. And their address.
I need to take my address. Been a resident for Del Palm. I have a meeting I have to attend. For the last 11 years, I've been member that's only been invited to 3 bids. And out of those 3 bids, was in 2019, 2021, and this current, that is past. I would like to know the amount of planning for the complete front pickup in Ward 3 recently. And now how many days is left for completion? There's still brush that still needs to be picked up. I was invited for verbally to bid to do the brush pickup for the ward. I gave a bid for $15,000. $15,000. I felt that there was a lot of debris. I work out here pretty. So I was told that there was a $10,000 offer on the table for he didn't give the amount of days, but then he ended up saying that there were 2 contractors that came in at $2,400, under $2,400 a piece. For 2 days, the completion would be $10,000. I gave a bid $15,000. I don't know how much more or what is on the table, what you all have done in bids with 2 contractors. I believe one is for Gamma and one's for Baby Tree. Baby Tree is an out-of-state vendor. I'm local. I did not get the option to negotiate a lower price. It was pretty much taking a leap for $10,000. The opportunity to review a scope of work in Ward 3 for rates and storms in the pickup. I've done my best to build the business. We now come highly recommended them to us is currently doing business with the following municipalities: Ferguson, Moline Acres, Berkeley, Pine Line, Amber Hill, Dalewood, Jennings, and Northwood. Our business has established a good rapport with all of those communities out of the years being in business. But yet our business resides in Belltown language and has been told that our bids have been too high over the last 11 years. I've only had the opportunity of bid 3. We have our MBE certification for minority business, our DBE, our SAM for certification for doing federal work if any disasters come through here. But our credentials are not recognized by those who award the contracts within the parks and street departments here in Bellefonte. I would like an explanation on why our business has been passed over, denied, looked down upon by those who make final decisions for awarding work. And for those who make the decision to bid the project. Then us is fully certified tree service company. Our business has been in Bellefonte, but yet we continue to do business with Gamma and other outside companies. The city has a guideline set for minority participation that you all would like to meet the goal for minorities to get a percentage of the work and the minority to get an opportunity to bid the work in these cities. Our company is the only tree service company in the city. Our company is the only minority-owned company who works fully within the city. We're not looking to call for every project that the city has, but have the credentials. We have the credentials, we have our business license, and we earn the right to be looked at as contractors within the city. What are the, we looked at within the city, the two employees that see this company is different. How are the guidelines set for within the city that the employee group don't follow? And how can you want to do business with minorities when you don't ask them to lead the city at the table?
Mary's time's up.
For the record, we purposely wanted to. We did. I would say it's taking your price is $15, just one. Whereas others. Five. For that, exactly. Oh, you gave $15, just one. Right. And the tree companies that aren't dead, it's several.
Excuse me, Mayor, we can't hear you.
If not, as what? It's what the project that they say on the thing.
If you focus. Businesses and our opportunities.
Mayor, if you're talking, I can't hear you.
She says she can't hear. Yeah, the city clerk, she's here all of the things.
Oh, I can't answer it.
She just said she couldn't hear.
I'll say I don't know.
One question, is that the statement that you gave it typed out? Can you give that to the city clerk so we can have a copy of that, please? Thank you.
Yes.
I'm sure we're talking about price. I engage others in our community and reach out. And I'm not sure how those 3 years happened, and they go in the newspaper, reach out to our local. And I've talked to Jimmy about that. We do have our minority labor in our bid, so we need to do better buying that, because he's here. I've used Gamma, I use Green Tree, and these are on our property. So I just want to support him and say they've done great business. I hope we do better. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Right.
Let's hold, yes, let's hold up for just a moment, because Marcy said, let me say she couldn't hear.
Right.
So let's make the switch.
Mayor, it's real mumbled. No, but I got people on. No, I don't want to.
Cheers. Laptop. You have it on the table.
Let me put it right here.
Are we on mute?
Stephanie, can you hear now?
I'm coming in, Mayor.
Okay. Oh, she can.
I can hear her. We heard you as you switched. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Clifford Royal. I live at 900 Coaching 6, and I'm here to introduce myself to the board. I am applying for the open seat in Ward 1. I had an opportunity to meet with Alderwoman Hester on Wednesday morning. We had a nice conversation, and just wanted to introduce myself. I've been in Bellflower for a little over 20 years. I was born and raised in St. Louis. I'm a graduate of Southern Illinois University at Evansville. Spent a good deal of my career on the East Coast. I retired from Bank of America in various positions, and I'm a full-time realtor. As a realtor, I get a chance to interact with a lot of different communities. And I'm also president of our HOA at Silver Lane Corner. In my current job, I see a lot of things that takes place here, and I think I can add be an asset to the board. I wanted myself up to meet with anyone who wants to. She has my phone number and email address, so please feel free to give me a call, and I will be here to answer any questions. I am very big as an entrepreneur, and I will be highly of the gentleman. We had a big storm, and I called him at the last minute, and I'm like, I need you now because my tree was getting ready to fall. And I'll let you know that your part is with 100 and some acres at BOA Meeting in Maryland Heights. And I need more work done, but I do believe in entrepreneurs in my current business. So just get in contact with me, and I would be more than happy to sit down and talk with you at length on anything.
Anyone else?
Wanda Lane, 9900 Martingale. That works. Actually, there were several items that I had, and I wanted to be concise. I know that this is a new setup, and we got some kinks that we're working through. So, I get that. But there are some things that I would like to address. According to the Constitution of the United States of America, it is part of my First Amendment right to protest my government. That's part of my right to do so without retribution or redress. There are several things that I have on here, and I see some of them have been addressed, but I'll be brief in what I wrote. I'm confused when the board passes a unanimous decision on a motion why you, the mayor, appear not to be honoring that motion. So I called the Missouri Municipal League and the Municipal League here in St. Louis. I got two answers. They both kind of sort of meant the same. Bottom line, according to the Missouri Municipal League, is the majority rules. The Municipal League here in St. Louis gave me a lot more detailed response. But I do understand that there's going to be a training session. And I know that citizens are allowed to participate, well, attend, but not ask questions. But he answered all of my questions, pretty much so. So that's something I guess that you guys are going to have to work out. I was concerned that for 2 meetings in a row, the decision was that the meetings would be specific to the budget. They have not been. And the budget was not item number 13 out of 16 items. That is concerning to me because the budget is very important. And as we know, we have to have it adopted by August 15th, I think it is, in order to be, to qualify for the grant, $420,000 grant. And if we don't do that, then our possibility of getting that grant, we've already experienced that with some other former board members. And we certainly don't want the mayor or anyone else to be responsible for why we don't get the $420,000 this year. I think the dais seating has been addressed, it appears. Well, then traditionally, the dais is reserved for elected officials. We as citizens elect you to be our representatives. City employees are not responsible to answer to us. They are city employees and we hire them to do a job and we hope that they do their job well. If the board wants to highlight or have a designated area, we used to do that a long time ago where the seats that were there were reserved for the Parks Department, the Building Department, and other places. Traditionally, the chief has always sat there. Even before this chief, there was the chief who sat there. So I get that. And I can remember one time we had the city collector sit there, Dr. Tranel sat there, but that was after Alderman Dilworth from your ward resigned. I don't know if that had anything to do with anything, but I know that there was a time that the city collector sat there. But once again, we didn't vote for city employees. We voted for city officials. And I just think that needs to be upheld. Prior to this, your new administration, Mayor, your voice was one of the loudest voices in what the previous mayor could and could not do. It's a board decision. He can't make this decision. He can't make that decision. As a citizen on the outside looking in, I'm hearing just the opposite. That's confusing to me because I don't think the ordinances changed. If they did, I'm not aware. And when you make references to Missouri statutes say, it would be helpful if you would give us the Missouri statute number so we can reference what it is that you are saying that seems to be contradictory to what we've always been doing. The last thing I'm going to say is regarding a political organization that your name has become associated with. Now, as a citizen, that's your constitutional right to associate with whatever political association you choose. That's your right. But it is not fair to associate the citizens of Belle Fountain Neighbors with that organization. It's common knowledge. It's a lot of kind of some nefarious individuals, I'll call them. Somebody else called them something else, bad actors, convicted felons, and folk who have charges and what have you. First female mayor of Jennings was impeached and removed from office within 6 months after she was elected. And 5 seconds. 5 seconds, thank you. So that's concerning to me, that just the public can see that, and it's just the way we think. We associate the mayor, when it says Mayor Bell Fountain, people think that it's about all of Bell Fountain, and it's not all about Bell Fountain, and that's not fair. So all of the persons, do your job.
I think the Constitution, that's, which is great. Like you said, we all have freedom of speech. Can't associate with who we associate. That's one of the freedoms. I would say thank you for the constitutional lesson. Great. As you stated, we all have rights and we get an opportunity to exercise. Thank you. And I'll make sure you those ordinance, if you would be list of the ones you want, like you said, when I make statements that you want to the ordinance for, I make sure you get that.
I'm gonna go back and every time we're gonna do that.
I'll just make sure. I think I know some examples.
This point forward.
I'll make some examples and I'll. Okay.
Thank
Any other citizens? Yes.
Yes.
Someone online?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. My name is Melvin Williams at 9912 Martingale Road. As a 20-year resident of Bell Fountain, my wife and I originally were gonna move, and we thought about it, and I thought about it and realized we're in a beautiful community. It reminds me of Webster Groves. And I said, where else will we move and not have problems? So I've decided also to run for alderman of Ward 1 to be access to building our community up. We're in one of the most dominant communities in North County. And with my background experience in education and business, I think I'd be a valuable asset to help revive this community. Also, with my knowledge of the new zoo that's being built in Bell Fountain, in Spanish Lake, and Bell Fountain neighbors being on the cornerstone of that development, I think there's a lot of information I can give to assist in that information. I have built communities through my business I was in, home for affordable, low-income people, knowledge of doing grants. But my main reason for calling, last week I listened in on from Zoom. You spoke about the tree service. I didn't understand why we would give someone $20,000 for 2 or 3 days worth of work when we could have hired 4 temps that could have worked for 3 weeks and helped clean up the entire environment in our community, as a and this company $20,000 for 2 or 3 days worth of work. Then 3 or 4 days later, the storm hit. So we're starting right back over again. So my question is, are we once again going to pay this landscaping company $2,500 a day to try to help clean up Bell Fountain? I thank you for allowing me to speak, and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. We'll make corrections on the statements that you made earlier. Director Ross can address those. We didn't give one company or 2 companies 10,000, so he'll address that. Any, Anthony?
Anthony Green, 9228 Ward off. First comment is I already met with the police chief. We've had, I believe, last week over 30 plus cars that were broken into. I specifically asked him about, was the police department going to order the GPS devices for the vehicles? He said that was not in the 23-24 budget. Don't know exactly why. He and I talked about it, so it's something new. I don't know how we all came to this conclusion that we don't need that, given what given that it occurred during graveyard shift. If I ask him where were the vehicles, where were the cars, he can't speak on that. It was already a pre-existing concern. I don't know how it's not in the budget. It needs to be in the budget. Everybody got their wish list, at least on that initial iteration of the budget, including a city administrator that we don't need. So I want to know why it's not on there, why it's not part of the wish list, and how did we as a city decide that's not a risk that we're broken into. Haven't heard an answer, but like to hear one. The next one is the city trampoline ordinance. I want to know where we are on that because we have on our street, we have individuals that have trampolines on the front yard. I've heard that y'all are working on the ordinance for that. Need a completion date for that. Doesn't need to be rushed, but I want a measurement date so it just doesn't get like the whole FY21 audit was. We're kicking the can down the road up to 15 months past the deadline. So I would like a date for that one. The next one is just, I'm not sure what the emergency plan for the city is, but I would hope that y'all talk to the citizens about what that is, or at least we can look at that, because we're having these storms and there's been 3 of them that have happened. And I think y'all should already have on tap recognized vendors for stuff that's going to happen. These trees are going to fall down, they're diseased. We talked about that. So right now, y'all should have on tap known vendors that the board is already comfortable with, working with, and it's just a matter of making a phone call plus or an email getting these rates done. It's part of your disaster recovery plan. Haven't heard about it since Chief Allen talked about it years ago, I believe. If y'all have it, we'd love to see it. But it's your contingency planning when the traffic lights go out, when the trees come down, when certain streets aren't passable. All of that is part of your disaster recovery plan, including which preferred vendors you want to deal with during these emergency moments. So I would hope that that's already outlined and pretty much in place. So it's just a matter of pushing a button instead of starting from ground zero when the city needs debris removed, they need streets cleared, and they need certain lights to come on. Also, I would like someone to talk to Ruler Foods. The inside of the store is a hot mess. We've been on this for a while. They asked for a license. They asked for a liquor license, but we can't seem to get the inside right. There's stuff on next door that there's mice inside of the store. It's a health concern. I can call St. Louis County Health, but we have a whole city here. People who are getting paid. I would like a letter to go out to the director from the city about Kroger's. They're owned by Ruler Foods. They're owned by Kroger, a $1 billion grocer. This is unacceptable. And the last piece.
Do what you normally do. Like for you to consider if you want to be a part of that short committee we have. We call them concerned citizens of public safety. Is there any other citizen? Yes, sir.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
First, I want to give thanks to our chief. You know, 3 years ago,
That's me.
3 years ago, and the police department and fire department. 5 years ago, I had heart surgery and I had to wear a bag to pump fluid and everything to me. And my wife had to go out of town. Didn't know what to do, but she needed to go. So the chief, the fire department, and the police department, and Ms. Lane watched over me like I was a child. And I appreciate that. And that's what kind of community we have. And that's one reason why I'm running for alderman of our first ward. I'm an educator from Harrisville State University, was Harrisville Teachers College back then. Graduate from Sudan, also an educator from the St. Louis Public School. I'm retired now in multiple positions, all the way to the union, pre-law information I have that had to protect the teachers for their jobs, and also a 30-year business, landscaping, 3 seasons landscaping. Also, within my landscaping business, I was incorporated with a construction company and we build homes for underprivileged individuals. So I'm very versed in my background. Um, Part of the Whitfield School District, I'm responsible for developing that school district. If you ever heard of Whitfield School District, and if you have any students that are knowledgeable and would like to go to an outstanding school, please, they have grants available for them.
If you give us that information, if you have it written up, those benefits, those.
Okay. I have, yes. Ms. Dales, I'll meet with her tomorrow. Teresa, okay. Yes, I have. Okay. Actually, no, I actually, last week, sent everyone a copy of it. Okay. Okay, I walked it in yesterday then also. And what I'd like to know on the bid for the, that was 3 minutes. But how do you bid? I mean, $20,000 as opposed to getting. Yeah, okay, because I want to know why can't we just get some pimps to come in for 3 weeks for the same amount of money? Melvin Williams. Yeah.
My name is Barbara Walker, and I live at 124 Green Acres Road. I have 2 questions. Did we find a replacement for you yet? And this gentleman, will he be on the ballot, or is he just gonna be the person that she talks to and that meets with her? Or did we find the person? There's 2. Who's the other person? That's my question. I'm sorry. Okay, I just wanted to know who they were and where we were. Oh, and I do ask one other thing. I did listen to the meeting last week on Zoom, and you guys I please beg you. You gotta stop that. The way it is, it's just so hard to listen to. It's very hard to listen to. You guys like you're not working together, you're kind of like arguing, bickering, pulling, and all of that. I'm sorry, that's just not a good situation for citizens. Anything, it's just constant little bicker like little kids. I'm sorry, please forgive me. But that's kind of what it's like. Thank you so much.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the specialty on ABD 126. On ABD for June 15, 23, even though I have not been.
Did we have the second? Yes.
Under roll call, I would.
Okay.
And you have me not. Okay, with correction. Thank you.
Well, now, we'll start all over. With the amendments, may we have a motion, with the amendments that were made, that were, corrected, a motion to approve.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Morning and Esther.
And I would like to, review something. I would like to make, an amendment to the function that the O column will be corrected in any other error that could be found afterwards will be corrected and placed on the website for June. For the special BOA meeting 15/23.
May I have a second, please? I'll second. Any other questions? All in favor? Now we're down to number 7, there was a change. When we put the special auditors.
Yeah.
Alderman Thomas.
And the city clerk doesn't have the ordinance. Okay. Well,
But I'll put,
yes. Thank you. To the first and second reading. Ordinance. Ending Article 2, something regulations. Code of ordinance. City is by the addition of section 212 special meeting.
and then we have a motion for the first reading.
I second.
Thank you. All in favor? Make a roll call, all voted. Roll call, please. Have discussion. Roll call. Discussion, yeah.
So I have a question about this ordinance. Can you explain, this is something that, can you explain it in detail? Because I read through it and I was a little confused.
All it is the only thing that's changing is right now, the ordinance says that if we call a special meeting, it has to be mailed to the alderman's last known address. With the way that United States Postal Service services are mailed now, it can take anywhere from 3 to 7 to 8 to 9 days just within our city. And that's the only place the letter is going. So in order to not miss the mail, to use a better term, we're saying that we can be notified by electronic mail, regular mail, or any other generally acceptable means. In other words, email, someone dropped it off at our house, but we won't be restricted to the United States Postal Service. And this will allow us to have a special meeting and not be worried about whether or not everyone is notified per the order. That clear?
So when I went to the ordinance and looked up section, the old section, the ordinance, it had like a short paragraph. And then when I looked at this, like section 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's where I kind of got confused because there's so many different sections kind of saying.
That's just ordinance.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Because when you looked it up, oh, okay, that's what I looked at. You know what? I looked it up in the binder book, not on the website. So I guess the binder didn't have it. Okay. Okay.
The ordinance says.
Thank you for the clarity.
On the last page, it's correct, the year. Day 2023.
Oh. Any other questions? And a second. Second, any questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Councilwoman Dale? Yes. Councilwoman Ward?
Yes.
Yes.
Alderwoman Esther?
Yes.
Alderwoman Warnes?
Yes.
Alderwoman Lutzer?
Yes.
Great.
Motion.
And then here's the nine.
She'll have it.
And then
That has to be decided.
yes, I'll get it done in the morning.
Lady, what was your police report? Our chief is. Number nine.
Number nine, we changed that to treasure to number 13.
Treasure report. Well, it's your turn.
All right, very good, very good. So why don't we start with just a quick synopsis of what's going on with the assessments? Everybody has an indication. Keep in mind, these are preliminary, came out of St. Louis County. It's one sheet I put on your, yep, everyone has that. So keep in mind, this is what's transpiring. So if you look at columns 1 through 5, column 1 preliminary, July 1st, St. Louis County. Keep in mind, these all come from the assessor. So Jake Zimmerman's office provides this to the city. Column 2, post BOE. Those are, BOE stands for Board of Equalization. We used those assessments to set tax rates last September. So keep in mind, the emphasis here, column 1 is preliminary. Column 3 is the increase. Column 4 is the percent. Column 5 is what percent of our tax revenue comes from that source. So you can see residential real estate is 68.67% of our tax revenue. Look what's going on. The county is taking advantage of the very hot retail market last year on the houses. Remember the year before, they did the same thing with the used car market. So that's what's transpiring. Seldom, if ever, do you see real estate going up by 40.72%. That's significant. That's 23,956,760. But keep in mind, when we set tax rates, we're not going to be paying 40% more. So we're going to be rolling back the tax rate. So the residents are going to see now by statute, it can only increase by 5%. So keep that in mind. So when everybody sees this, it can only go up by 5%. Just want to make sure everyone understands that this is significant, but we're seeing it all across the county. Residential house values skyrocketing. So keep that in mind. So it can only go up by 5% by statute. So total real estate's up 24 million, but it's all in the first category. So you can see real estate's up 32.5. And of our tax dollars, 81.3% comes from real estate. Personal property, nowhere near what we saw last year. You could see going up by 1.1 million, 5.27%. And again, that represents the difference of what our tax money is, 18.7. So when it's all said and done, keep in mind preliminary, these will change between now and September. We're in a reassessment year. Every odd year is a reassessment year. So right now, you're looking at a $25 million increase, 26.39%. But keep in mind, when it's all said and done, our tax revenue really can only go up by 5%. So just so everybody realizes that as we move forward. CPI this year stayed 6.5. Last year was 7%. So keep that in mind. That's the CPI that we have. Does anybody have any questions on this? We'll talk a little bit more next month to give everybody an indication of what that preliminary tax rate will be. Keep in mind, it is being rolled back. It is going to be rolled back. So everybody can see the tax rate at the city will definitely be rolled back, right? So how about we talk about Senate Bill 190? So everybody had talked about it. It's had a lot of press. So I wrote up this 2-page in regard to Senate Bill. So I'm going to walk you through and feel free to ask questions as we're done. That way we can get a quick understanding. So keep in mind, the governor signed it on July 6th. It does not become law in the state of Missouri to August 28th. So when the governor signs something, unless it has an emergency clause attached to it, it does not become law until August 28th. So look at the second paragraph. This bill reads as follows. County, 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 county. Well, we're a city. Couple that, nowhere does it mention other taxing authorities. St. Louis County has no authority over our ability to set tax rates. They do nothing more than an administrative function. They bill, they collect, and they send us our tax dollars. That's it. They cannot tell us how to set our tax rates or what to do. This bill only references the word county. Nowhere in it does it say city or any other taxing authorities. Now, where is this going to be a problem? We all know we lived with this just recently, didn't we? What did we pass in November? A use tax. And why did we do that? U.S. Supreme Court ruled on the Wayfair. They said what? Sales tax, sales tax, sales tax, sales tax. That's the only word they use for the most part. State of Missouri, if the estate, to get it taken care of, the very last, what did we use? Use tax, use tax, use tax, use tax. Because of that, all the legal scholars said, it doesn't say sales tax, which we already had, so we don't qualify unless we go do what? Get the use tax passed for e-commerce. Why? It wasn't mentioned in the bill. Other taxing authorities are not mentioned in this bill. This will be in Cole County in April, about the same time you're going to see it on the ballot here in St. Louis County. So unfortunately, it may or may not beat that day. We'll see what transpires, but look for this to be on the ballot in April. Why? St. Louis County's already voted down 4-3. So the next step, it only takes 5% of registered voters to go ahead and get this on the ballot. Normally it takes 20 to 25%. That shows you the low threshold. They want every county to consider this, whether it be done at the board level or by the residents themselves. So keep in mind, when you look at who votes, 70% of the voters, for the most part, at most elections are seniors. This is going to be difficult to move forward. But I think that first clause alone is going to kill it, because if it only mentions county, any legal scholar will tell you, you never meant that they can't do anything with ours. So then look at who qualifies. What's the first sentence? Eligible for Social Security. Well, who's that? Okay, that's normally 60 or older, normally. But who doesn't get Social Security? Just ask the teachers. Do they belong to the Social Security system? Most are not. So then the first says are eligible for Social Security. They're not eligible. So does that mean every teacher in the county is excluded? How about railroad workers? They have their own retirement system. They're not in Social Security. Does that mean railroad workers are now excluded too? So you can begin to see the way this bill is written. They should have just used the date. Now, anyone disabled is going to qualify. They're eligible for Social Security. So you can begin to see what's going on in this bill, why it's going to wind up in Cole County for clarification. Owner of the homestead. Well, of course, the person that lives there for the most part is going to be owner of record. Okay, they have to pay the bill. They have to be on the title. Now, what's the first problem being on a title? Keep in mind, every single box has to get checked to qualify. Well, what estate planning goes on with seniors? Well, aren't the lawyers asking you to put your house in the estate of? Well, an estate is not drawing Social Security. Now, it's a disregarded entity, so it's not going to qualify. LLCs don't qualify. That was the other thing. Let's protect you from liability. We'll put your house in an LLC. Doesn't qualify. Disregarded entity. So you can begin to see where all of this attention is going to be driven. And it says, has to be your primary residence. Who knows that? Who knows that? What if you have a house in every single county in the state, and you're 62 and older, and you're renting them all out except the one you live in? How does anybody know? There's no central database. Not only that, when you go to file your personal return, the federal government, U.S. Supreme Court has already ruled on this. 6 months and 1 day, and you have to vote from this house. That's all they had to put in, voting. So what this forces us to do as a city to get out in front of this, we really have to go through a permitting process for rental properties. And in that permitting process, we need the age of that resident who owns that house. How old are they? Just date of birth. That's all you do. We can compute it up ourselves. We need to see who's going to qualify and who's not as we move forward. So keep in mind, we should go through and do that. Is just start a rental property registration so we know, or else what? Every single property owner, 62 or older, whether he resides there or not, is going to try to qualify. Every single one. And unless we know for sure it's a rental property, we're going to be hard pressed to deny. So keep that in mind. Every city in the county has to go about and do this. And the county has to do unincorporated, like right next door in Spanish Lake. They're going to have to get that same impetus to move forward. Keep in mind, regardless of income, it doesn't matter. House value, it doesn't matter. So this is related to growth. So that means when the last tax bill, so if they approve it in April, the real question is it prospective? And I would argue yes. Why? Because like in any statute, unless that bill says retro, it's prospective. So that would mean their first tax bill after the approval, just like it says after 6/2, which means what? November of 24. When that bill goes out, or December, the 23 bill will not qualify because that's retro. State statute doesn't allow retro unless we specifically put it in. The language within the ballot that you're going to vote on does not have anything to do with retrospective. Not only that, St. Louis County cannot get the system up fast enough, so they're going to have to wait to the next year to have it in. To get it in 6 months, when they don't have a database today that tells you how old each person is, there's no way they can get this done. Your real estate bill, if you're 62 or older, is going to say this. Top line is here what you owe, okay? Because that number needs to be embedded. When you sell that house, it reverts back to that top line. The second line is going to say your senior citizen tax credit, okay? So we know. And then the third line is what you pay. So when that house gets sold, it reverts back to the top line, even if the person's 60 older, but that'll be the last time they pay more than that, because once again, it's frozen. No growth after that, which means what? They can vote on everything. It has no impact to them whatsoever. They can vote yes all the way they want, no change, nothing happens. So keep that in mind. Fifth, we talked about the real estate market in regard to rentals. We have to get out in front. We need to start registering them. This may or may not move forward, but we have to get them on record. We need to know who's a renter, who's not, or we're going to lose tax money is really what's going to happen. So we need to be out in front. Now, the next legal issue is on the next page. It's the Hancock Amendment. Everyone knows what transpires. When we set our tax rates, there are 3 statutes in Missouri that exclude revenue. One is Chapter 99, another is Chapter 100, the other is Chapter 353. 353 is urban redevelopment. Chapter 100, industrial bond. Chapter 99 is debt. What happens is when we set our tax rate, we're able to back out all of those non-revenue producing statutes because we're not going to produce income when we set our tax rate. We back those out. Now, this does not allow us to back it out whatsoever. The language in this bill specifically says we set our tax rate assuming we're collecting it even though we're not. So right away, Hancock says, whoa, we're not getting money. So therefore, we have to be allowed to exclude. So, and that's in every provision within the statutes today. So we'll see how this holds up. Could be this is the first statute they allow to go forward. So what does that mean? Once we set our tax rate, we're going to have to reach out to Mark DeBoer, the collector, and say, okay, Mark, how much money are we not going to get? Because every year it's cumulative. If it's 10,000 this year, it's 10 plus whatever it is next year, and on as long as the seniors reside in those homes. So that number is going to grow. We have to back that out of our budget every single year. Or we're budgeting revenue we will never, ever collect. So keep that in mind as you move forward. So that is Senate Bill 190. You're going to hear a lot about it. It's county by county. Certain counties are going to pass. From what I understand, Cape's already passed where they can get it on the ballot quick. So it's going to be in Cole County. Who's going to take it there? Probably the schools, because they have the tendency to lose more. But keep in mind, there's not a single taxing authority that supports this as we speak.
Okay, so would you recommend that we try? That was-
Well, we wouldn't be doing it. So no, we can't. It's not gonna be city by city, it's county by county. So the city has no ability to put this on. It'll be 5%. Keep in mind, it will be, we can't do it in November because it has to be certified by the end of August. There's no way you're gonna collect the signatures that fast. So the first time it has an opportunity to be on a ballot will be April, and look for it to be on the April ballot. Just watch, unless Cole County stops it.
And then the, after we get to the budget, can you show me exactly what line item from the residential?
It's in our tax revenue.
Right.
So keep in mind, here's what would transpire. Okay, it's gonna affect or impact mainly our debt service. Okay, why? Because our general fund, we hardly collect anything. The most money we collect, probably 20% of what we collect, it's debt service that has the issue. So debt service is and could lose approximately $60,000 based on based on this growth that we just went through. I already computed it. Assuming this took place, it would cost the city $60,000 in tax revenue on debt service is where it would take place. Because you would look at that top number, residential real estate, the 23 million, okay? All you do is divide by 100, multiply by tax rate. There you go. That's your, and then multiply that. I use 20%. Could be more. If it's 30%, it's more. So keep that in mind. Anytime, if this goes into effect, anytime anyone goes for a tax increase, they're going to have to take into consideration the portion they're not going to get. So if you need a quarter and 20% of your residents are seniors, you need to go for 35 to get you closer to your mark, because it's never going to work. And the same with debt service. You need to be looking out and do the multiplication to get you as close to your number real time. Now, what happens? Population's aging. So the 62 plus is going to be built up with even more as time goes on. So this number could go 20, 25, 30, 35, 40% of our tax base could wind up 62 plus at some point in time. And that could be a lot of cities. So keep that in mind. We won't know. And eventually we'll have the information as soon as St. Louis County captures it. They don't have it today. So keep that in mind as we move forward. Right? How about other questions? Right? Do we want to move to the budget? Okay, up to the board. I've got that in front of me. First, I want to thank the department heads, everyone that met. They did a great job getting this budget together. They did quite well putting this all together. I want to commend them. Several meetings, a lot of attention on this. So I want to thank them. Jeff was participant, the chief, same with Jimmy. Everybody contributed. The mayor was there on all the meetings. So again, thanks to everyone for their hard work to get us to this point. So I'll entertain any questions. You've got the budget. I gave everyone a copy. So in what you've got, just so everyone knows, there's page numbers. So you've got an index, you got page numbers. Page numbers are at the far bottom left, plus they're up there at the top. So if you've got a question, so Lisa, I'm going to address yours right away. If you go to the page 1 and you look there, if you go down 5 lines, real estate personal property tax. That's the number we're talking about. So keep in mind on the general fund, it would have very little impact. I'm sorry, it's okay. Yeah. So the general fund would have very little impact because the increase this year would be 12,000. So you multiply by 20, it's only $2,400 impact. If it were to take place, it's not going to impact this budget. So keep that in mind.
So when you say personal property,
No, it's real estate and personal property.
right.
Because the question was, if Senate Bill 190 was in play for residential real estate, what line would be impacted? Recombine both real estate and personal property on one line that we call just that, real estate, and personal property. That's where our tax money rolls through. Correct. Correct. Page one. It's the sixth number down on the far right. Go down 6 numbers, page 1. There is the number. Now, keep in mind, if this was in play this year, after we set our tax rates, it would only have a $2,400 impact. It's not going to have a significant impact yet on residential real estate. And if you look down just a few more lines, there's your use tax you passed last November, the $250,000. That has no impact because that's a sales tax on e-commerce. So that has no impact on what we just talked about. Sales tax will not be impacted. Which one? Yeah, if you're looking at to the right, that is, if you look at it, the annualized numbers to the 200 is budget year last year. Go to the left of that number. That's your annualized. So let me go through the columns real quick. Column 1 is 2020. Column 2 is 21. Column 3 is 22. Column 4 at the top, column 4 is annualized the fiscal year that we just ended. Annualized. So that number, to your point, would be $278,095. The budget for the year to the right was only 200. And we're proposing 250 this year because of the annualized amount. Still not saying we're going to collect the full 278, but we think we're going to collect more than 200 budgeted for this fiscal year that just ended. What's that? Yeah, that's what's being proposed as a budget. Yeah, that's what's being proposed for the budget. That's correct. We're trying to be conservative, anticipate less revenue, not more. Uh-huh. Meaning, oh, well, if you've got those estimated numbers are right there. If you look at annualized, keep in mind, that was annualized from our April numbers. So I haven't changed anything because we've been working on this budget. I don't want to keep changing and then the board doesn't know what's going on. So the numbers that we annualized were April because when we submitted the budget to everyone, those were the most recent available at the time. To your point, everything we have, the first 10 months are actual. We only estimated May and June. So when you look at column 4, that would give you a pretty good indication of what has been or will be collected based on this most recent fiscal year. So if you look at column 4, then you go to column 5, you can see what we intended last year as a budget. Then you go to column 6 and say, okay, does that look reasonable that we're going to budget like the first one, 1,650,000 for sales tax, when we collected 1,677,000?
You know what we have in our budget?
Of zero.
So we introduced that.
Oh, yeah, use that. You can pay the fine.
Right. Is there anything?
Yeah, it's so small. It was so small. Keep in mind what happened is because use tax got passed in November, the first month we were able to collect was what? April. All right, so by the time April ended, we didn't get a collection until what? May, June. So there was zero through the first 10 months. And keep in mind, the first payment in May was very small. Very small. We'll start seeing bigger ones now that it's in play. But keep in mind that first payment was only for 1 month that came in May and June. So it wasn't significant enough to even put on. And since we're using April numbers, that was fine. Oh, sure. No, I was wondering when we had all zeros. That's last year. Yes. Yep. The which company? Yeah, and I'm not sure. It's probably, I can check to see which one it's going under. So it's probably under the one. So good point. It probably should be broken out and spelled out. So we can check with Lori and see where she's coding it today. I didn't have it on last year. Did not. So I'll make a note and I'll ask Lori.
Okay, so. On page. On page
Two, okay,
number eight, house registration.
all right, page 2.
So we estimate that
Or,
for the house, take the house.
oh, let me go over there. Oh, vacant house, right. That, yeah, that was the estimate for the year. So
And that would
that, yes, that would be revenue.
don't have registration.
Correct. And yeah, you're correct. It's not spelled out separately, which we could.
We have this whole registration. Okay, so basically, what one day, residential rental.
Mhm.
We can add date of birth.
Yep, I would definitely put that on the application.
Oh.
You're on page 2. What's up? Yep.
I mean, I didn't go, like,
Correct.
Based on. Page 4.
Correct. Now, keep in mind, on page 4, the key is right now we have surplus. So keep that in mind when you look at it. That's always the key. We're not going to operate with a deficit. So we're going to operate with a surplus, and that's always the key. Which I, yeah, right. Yeah.
So. We can have intern on page 4. We have election.
Right.
So. $50.
Oh.
That should be increased.
Well, it's based on the fee the city charges and the number of individuals that sign up.
That's what we.
Correct. Oh, it's his revenue again. This is for
I'm
individuals running for office that want to pay the elected official fee.
Okay.
So the revenue would go under election expenses.
You know
Correct.
what I was thinking?
Yeah.
When we have to file for.
Correct.
With way more than.
Correct.
Okay, so. We talked about how good he is. He's still great. He's free. You got low blood, that's what happened.
You're too kind. Oh, I good nature. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Want to put a chair in front of it or something?
They're not ready for something.
Or they would fill it, we did.
Yeah, 10 more minutes. Okay, so. Okay. Okay. That's their one. I can give you.
No problem.
Thank you. And you add, $1,000.
City elected officials, you want to make it 57 instead of 56, sure.
Yes.
Yep. And I'm gonna make this bold as we make changes that we know which change. So keep in mind at the first budget meeting, you look 2 lines down. Okay, the city essential was subtracted from 250 to 125.
City essentials.
Yeah.
There's order.
Yeah, because the city administrator at the first meeting was requested to be taken out and added positions for Jeff's department. So those were added to Jeff and we pulled out city administrator. So that number now is 125,000. Just so the board knows, that was the request at the first budget. I'm sorry. So yeah, two lines down. We're changing city elected officials to 57,000.
Right.
But I just want to make sure everybody knows city essential is at 125,000 at the direction of the board.
Okay, well, that was 3 employees in pay.
Okay, and when we get to Jeff's, but we can actually take one out. So we added 37,000 times 3. So we'll subtract a 37,000 from. Okay, yeah, but just so the board knows, that's what's transpired.
Okay.
So everybody knows, but the city essentials are there. So for the city.
What is the cemetery 5?
Okay,
MSA expression.
what's your flexible spending account?
By what?
Flexible spending account, that's employees. It's a TPA.
Oh, okay.
As a third party, they operate the program for the city. Oh, yes. One 120. Yep. It's not an actual, I just used your 37 that you had for your open position. Correct. Okay, and that's gonna be up to the board. Yeah, so Jeff, I added 3 at the 37 because we had the 37 for the vacant position. So assuming that's the starting pay, that's what we use. So it wasn't to match up the exact amount coming out for the city administrator, which to provide what the board had requested.
No,
Yeah, but that's the expense. But keep in mind, all your utilities are coming out of your capital account. So keep that in mind. The capital improvements is paying for those expenses, for maintenance for the city.
oh,
Go ahead.
I was gonna ask.
Okay.
you, image of beautification.
Oh.
I'm sorry. I can't stand it. I can- Which-
Image and beautifications on page 7.
I can't.
Oh, got it. Oh, okay.
Or for instance, like,
I-
okay. Oh, it's, one is for update.
Yes.
Okay, that's at the bottom.
Yep.
If we
5,300.
don't get the grant,
Uh.
so this, municipalities, 24 months put in a grant that all the cities can apply to update our code, not the code book, but the, implant in the building part. Cause what we're doing, the codes that we're using now.
Sure.
Is so old. And then if we
Sure.
update it, it's gonna take us. up
Talking
to
about building
2000.
codes.
Right, the building. code.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that's what it's called. So if we're operating 2012, it's updated 2000. No, no.
It used to be
Right.
called
But
BOA.
in either way, I don't know if this is the codes for the ordinances that we create.
Yes.
But we do need to update our code of property codes. And if we get the grant, it could be 1,500.
Okay.
If we don't get the grant, the highest that I was told is 7,500 for them to update. So we do need to add.
Okay. You want to add the 7,500 to the 5,300? Because it's more of an administrative anyway, and probably belongs here. Want to add that? Is everybody okay? Words okay? Okay, so what I'm gonna do is take this, and then I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna add to the 53. So if everybody can make that 12,800, and I've got it as bold so that you can see that it's changed.
12,800.
Correct. 12,800. I'm sorry? Yes, 5,300. We're gonna add 7,500 to that, so this new number will be 12,800. So keep in mind, as we make changes, when you get the revised budget, you're gonna see it in bold. So you know this one has been changed.
And this is how we're operating. It's so old. It's just old. And if we don't get the grant, it's gonna cost us $7,500. I'm hoping somebody can do it. It's not that much. But for one, for this economy, they offer all the municipalities a grant to get it updated. Dollars every year.
Anything else on page 6? Or we will move to page 7? Okay. Oh, okay. All right, very good. So I'll say this as is.
board meeting, scheduled board meeting will be the budget and to pay invoice. Only.
I second. The move to the second, that, next week, or have the budget.
Only.
Okay. Second. All in favor? Any questions? Can we have a roll call?
For the agenda.
So,
Right.
Okay. Good question. I have a question. To approve the instrument.
Mm.
We can put it on the next one. We can do those first. I need a mission. For trigger.
You can call me.
Gotta look at. Yeah. All right.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Aye. Thank you for waiting. They don't worry, no, they don't worry.
That worked well. Good job. Fix it next time. Yeah. You want to show some? Yeah, because they all have a hard copy, but nobody else can see it. So that's the only thing. Okay. But, yeah, but yeah. But that projector would work out. The Zoom won't, we just gonna put the different input. You can show it. The Zoom will still work, but they just won't see it. Oh, they still won't see it. Yeah. But everybody here can. Everybody here can. Okay, all right. Very good, thank you.
You jump, except you don't say that.